Thank you all very much for coming. I don't know if any of you have come across the Audacious Women Festival during the rest of the week, or if this is your first event. We've had a fantastic week of events, and this is the beginning of a very action-packed final weekend. I'm really delighted that Deidre got able to be here. Alison, you've organised it, would you like to say a few words? No. Thank you very much to Alison, who's the community space organiser here, who's done a fantastic job getting loads and loads of stuff at Ocean Terminal, and who's organised for Deidre to come.
Yes, and it's wonderful because we have a panel of all of the artists are actually based here at Ocean Terminal. Mirja from Interview Room 11, Olivia and Karen from Dock, which is the steel shed outside, and Sara, who runs Image Collective, the gallery upstairs, and is just starting Scottish Crew.
Yes, which is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much again, Deidre, and for coming and joining us.
Good. No, thanks, Alison. It was really a great pleasure to be invited to do this, because I've always had an interest in art ever since I was little, really, so an opportunity to speak to women artists. I was also convener for Culture and Leisure at Edinburgh Council, so that helped promote my interest too. But being here with these women, we're going to discuss as part of the Audacious Women Festival, dangerous women artists. And I think too some of the struggles that women perhaps face getting ahead in art, because I think that's a big part of women's experience as far as I can see, doing a little bit of research around it. But just to start off, so when we're talking about women in art, in anywhere, audacious, ambitious, suspicious, contentious, ingenious, ferocious, illustrious, rebellious, tenacious, and vexatious. Women who won't be put in a box, women who won't stay in their place, women who'll get up, get out, and get on with it, changing the world one irritating little problem at a time. You'll pick up traces of them throughout history and all walks of life. You'll find them in all nations and all classes. You'll find some who were workers and some who didn't need to. They had and have one shining commonality: up with this nonsense they shall not put. People elsewhere will be talking about women in politics in this festival, in the trade union movement and in community movements. You'll have noticed that it was women who were driving the very successful Lawn Street campaign recently. But I've got the delight of hosting this wee discussion about how women have used art in all its forms to change the world and our place in it. It might indeed be one of the most effective weapons we have, with humour, stamina, imagination, and maybe wit. But we're talking about art today, so we've had some introductions to the panel, but I wonder if we can hear sort of 30-second pitches from all of them, perhaps starting with Mirja Kopp, just about a little bit more about where you're from, what your background is, and what we need to know.
Okay, so I'm originally from Finland. I lived in the US for a long time, and then I've lived here for about 10 years, and I run a gallery here. I'm also a performance artist and visual artist. And my interest is in, well, I've been doing a lot of performance art that has to do with the women's bodies and women's image, and I co-started women's performance art group in US, and we were touring around the country quite a bit. I have some of my performance booklets here, so I can pass them around, so you see what kind of work we were doing.
Indeed, I mean, we'll do that perhaps after Karen and Olivia are going to be doing a little presentation as well of their works, but we can maybe jump to Olivia now.
Well, I'm originally from Huddersfield, and I came to study at Edinburgh College of Art, and then after I graduated, me and Karen set up Dock Artist Space, and that is what's drove me to stay in Edinburgh, and obviously it's really nice. But I think our main aim is to get art accessible to the community and to make contemporary art scene in Edinburgh a lot bigger than what it is now at the moment.
Great. Karen?
So I'm from Edinburgh, and I studied at Edinburgh College of Art, and as I say, we founded Dock Artist Space, which is premises outside, We work a lot with Edinburgh College of Art, Edinburgh College, international artists. We have a rentable space that we have a show at the moment for Edinburgh Student Arts Festival. We really only officially opened the studios in June last year, but last year we were a pop-up for Edinburgh Art Festival. We had some international artists outside. So we've got lots happening at DOC, but yeah, it's all about being inclusive and art not being sort of stuffy and pretentious.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
That's
Right too, yeah. Okay, and now Sara.
Hi, I'm Sara. I'm from Edinburgh, Leith. I was in social work for years and then thought, I really hate it, I wanted to do what I want to do, and at the time when I was growing up, art and things weren't really things you were going to get money out of. So I thought, I'm going to take a leap, did photography, studied there, and approached here to be able to show work, and then started helping everybody that couldn't show work. So that's how it started.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think as you can hear, all those panellists continue the spirit of risk of Audacious Women in Art, and are continuing to push back up boundaries, and I think all have community ethos in your work too, really importantly. We'll get down to some serious discussion with them in a moment, but I am a politician, so before I let the experts speak, I'm just going to fling out a little bit of gossip about a few inspirational women whose art have forged new places and new ideas and really continue to have an impact today. I'm doing that because I can. And of course, these are only a few of the very many you can choose from, and I've left out many indeed that I actually admire. But I did want to point out something right at the beginning, that when women do something amazing, it's all too often recorded in history as some man having done it. And art's no different, unfortunately. So the famous urinal sculpture, Fountain, well known to be by Marcel Duchamp, but there is a good chance, it's actually more than a good chance, that the actual artist was Baroness Elsa von Freytag-Loringhoven, who'd been creating found art for some time, and frankly was the more imaginative and humorous artist. And it's still Duchamp, however, that's remembered as the innovator. And likewise, Pauline Botti, I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she created pop art works in the early 1960s, died terribly young, unfortunately, at only 28, but she was right at the leading edge of that new art, and it was her ideas and imagination that helped to spark that movement. But the artists that people remember today, of course, are boring old men like Warhol. Should I say that? Shouldn't really. But anyway, compared to what I think are really vibrant, sensual works from Botti, that Campbell's soup can is as cream of chicken as you can get, really. Berta Morisot, I mean, she was a remarkable artist. I'm just trying to, once described by the critic for Le Temps as the one real impressionist in this group. That would be a group that included Cézanne, Degas, Monet and Renoir, and yet which artists are the names that we hear about the most nowadays? I think Berta Morisot is mainly known for a picture that I think Renoir did of her, rather more than the tremendous work she did herself. Camille Claudel, who inspired Rodin, always claimed that he nicked her ideas. Marlo Moss, whose parallel lines became famous while she didn't. Alma Thomas, whose pioneering work was reminiscent of ancient mosaics but abstract and painted. The list goes on. Louise Bourgeois, who worked to fund herself through her studies when her father cut off financial support, and whose sculptures helped to really redefine what sculpture is, but whose work is hardly known until it seems just yesterday. Sonia Delaunay, I went to see an exhibition of hers at the Tate not so long ago, a co-founder of Orphism, but whose memory really sits in the shadow of her husband's, in spite of her being the better artist. Carlo, O'Keeffe, Bell, de Lempicka, Hepworth, Riley, Sherman, Ehrman, the list goes on. And there are Scots artists too who have kicked back and created new art. Someone who lives not far from here, Barbara Ray, whose work draws from the world, very intense, vivid colours in her landscapes. A legacy from Mexico, but she also draws inspiration from European destinations. Liz Blackadder, who seems to delight in breaking the rules. Alison Watt, who I was privileged enough to see the work of down in the Parliament in Holyrood over years. When I was working there, did beautifully expressed bed sheets that she does. Victoria Crowe, a particular favourite of mine as well. It's work with a sort of quiet magic, described by the art critic Duncan Macmillan as presenting spiritual landscapes, which I think is a lovely description. And lastly, just because she's fabulous, Joan Erdley, who was born elsewhere but had a very good taste to move to Scotland, and whose depictions of Glasgow street children just look almost crayon-like. I'm not really sure how she does it, perhaps our artist here can tell me, but were incredibly lifelike and tremendously powerful too. So women artists, powerful, innovative, pushing the boundaries of life, pushing the boundaries of art, pushing everything they can find to see what it does. And I'll let you into a wee secret. My daughter, Ellie, is also hoping to join that tremendous band. She's currently studying at Glasgow School of Art. And I am very proud of her. I don't tell many people about my daughters because I think it's up to them, really, to decide who gets to know about them. But I am very proud, so I'm sure I can trust you all to keep the secret. Don't tell her I told you. Right, enough of me. I'm going to hand over now to the real experts. Firstly, I think Karen and Olivia, if you're ready.
We have got some slides that shows you how far we've come as founders of Dock Artist Space, to give you an idea more about where we work and where our exhibitions are. So just a wee second. Right, so this is the steel shed, which we took on. We got the lease for it in September 2015, it'll be now, won't it? And it was just basically just an old shed that was built by shipbuilders. So it's been laying empty for 15 years when we took it on. We emptied it, we put in art studios down the stairs, so we built studios. Most of it was favours with a little bit of funding and hard work. Olivia's really good at joinery. So this is the upstairs space that we have, and that's just a previous exhibition that we've had on. To say we keep it really contemporary. We think there's enough traditional art in Edinburgh, there's enough paintings of the castle and Grey Friars Bobby. So we're trying to bring more of a contemporary feel to Edinburgh and Leith as a whole. So this is just one of our studio spaces. That's my space, sorry. Messy. It's actually messy on that. So we've got our shipping container as well, you'll see that shortly. This is where our current exhibition is. We were kindly given this old container by Fourth Ports. The same September, it took us to the beginning of this year to raise the £3,000 that we needed to convert it. We got a favour from a blacksmith family member of mine to put in really cheaply the window units. This is, now Olivia did the walls, were very, very audacious. And it's all insulated. Edinburgh Tool Library gave us a wee hand with the actual battens, but Olivia did most of the walls. So this is an exhibition space. So Death or Glory, which is our Audacious Women exhibition, we got together female artists that have already shown in the steel shed over the first year. So this is the container, which is now an exhibition space. That's Emily Fong's work. She did a solo show with us last year. So that's actually, she made that, it's like a mini bar, and you get a wee cup of red wine out of that.
I didn't know that, you didn't tell me that. Yeah.
So you can see we've wanted a really unique space that we've made ourselves. We've got sound in the exhibition. This is Mirja. She did a performance on Wednesday night for our launch. So we try and sort of get involved with other female artists. It would have made sense if you were there. So yeah, Audacious. So the brief, there was a really loose brief of what makes you audacious for the women artists. So some of it's like one word, some of it's like something from they remember, a paragraph, a whole A4 page. But the text beside the work. This is upstairs at the moment. We've got Edinburgh Student Art Festival showing a show. So this is how far we've come. The two of us, both of us have other jobs. I work in an after school club 4 days a week.
I've just switched jobs. I used to work nights, so I'd work from 6 till 2 in the morning, and then I'd go to dock during the day, and I'd do that over and over and over again. But now I've got a 9 till 5,
So we're like ships that pass the night, because I have to leave by about 2 to start work, and then I work till after 6. So Friday is my day off,
and mine, so we get to see
that's
each other.
when we can catch up. But we spend a lot of time emailing, social media, just to keep in the loop. But it's constant. I mean, we've got other jobs, and I would say, including other jobs and we're talking about 12, 13 hour days at the moment. when we've got exhibitions on.
So what drove you to take it on in the first place? You graduated from
I don't know.
ACA. But you achieved it. I mean, that's a tremendous achievement.
Well, we found that there was a lack of affordable studio space to keep artists in Scotland. So our main ethos with DOC is that studios are affordable, they're between £50 and £100 a month, and we have a rentable exhibition space that is £65 a day, or if you take it for more than 4 days, we knock 50% off if you're an artist. If it was a corporate company wanting to use the space, they would pay a lot more, but as far as supporting local Scottish artists and just keeping them here and feeling that they've got a space that's really unique to show work, and there's a real community. I'm just about to start working with Trinity Academy to bring down their advanced higher students to help them with portfolio, get them applying for, I've got funding to do that, applying for further education. Leith Academy will not even answer me, I can't get them involved at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you heard it here, folks.
Because it's working, giving them I've got hundreds of pounds worth of materials to give them.
Really?
I've got funding to run the workshops.
I'll work there, so I'll pass it on.
Yeah, I've emailed
Oh,
them.
right.
I've
Look
been
what you've done now.
There we are. That's great.
because Trinity Academy, I've met them twice. I'm going to speak to the kids about the project on Tuesday, and it's totally free for them, and it's just giving kids from more of a state school background that push into further education, because
Right. And yeah, no, that's really
I've got
important
funding
to
from
do.
Leith Benevolent Fund and ScotMid.
Scotland.
I was a wee bit in. What's your space called? I missed that.
DOC,
sorry.
DOK.
Okay.
Exactly where is it?
Just kind of out there.
Just next to like the Britannia, it's on the corner of the water. We've got a show on at the moment today.
You have to go round to the
Walk-
very back.
Yeah, if you walk round as if you're walking around the water to the end. It's
Okay.
just there.
Because I've never heard about it in Leith. I mean, I haven't
Yeah,
looked
it's
either.
fairly new though, isn't it?
Well, we
So-
officially opened in June.
Yeah.
First we had a launch, and it's been constant since then. We've got quite a good social media presence, but I know not everybody
It's on it,
goes on
that's
social
right.
media, but Twitter and Facebook. And
Maybe hear a little bit more about how you sort of get the word out
Yeah,
there.
it'd be really good to
later on.
get it out in Leith, because it's sort of, I live down the shore. It'd really be a good thing to just keep popping in and sort of
Yeah, for
become
sure.
a member or something like
well,
that.
the thing is with Customs House now being an art space, they've
Yes.
got the Student Art Festival, so we've sort of linked up with them for this Custom
Right.
Lane, and
Yeah, there's so
yeah.
much happening in Leith at the moment. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
So much
Do you
creativity
have any
here.
printed material that you can put around in the bars and cafes for people who aren't on social media?
I've got. Well, we're just probably going to have to do some new flyers. We've got our cards and things, but there's various things that are going to be changing with our whole project. And I think we're going to have to.
Maybe we can catch up with that a little later on.
Yeah.
Because I was just going to ask Mirja if she could maybe if we could just hand out some of the booklets you brought with you.
Yeah,
Mirja.
I was
So
just
you could
thinking.
talk a little bit about some of the work you've been doing as well.
Yeah, so I thought that one of the things when you were talking about what you're doing is this is one thing that unites all of us, is that we are working with people and with community, but we are also providing opportunities for others. So this is a big sort of driving force. Because also with the gallery, it's an artist-run space, and we're trying to show other emerging artist work. But in some way, this performance group that we had was a similar kind of endeavor. So this was a group of women. Some of us were teaching in an art school, some of us were students, but we decided that we don't have enough opportunity to show our work. So we wanted to pool our resources together and make work together, and it was a really wonderful experience. So we had an open group, so we had about 8 people involved at any given time. I could pass this around. And we all sort of we had a lot of meetings where we had our children with us, our families got involved, so we got very good friends as well, and it was very supportive. When some of us would have any problems, we would all pull together. So it was really feeling that there is this sort of echo chamber for what you are doing. It was really wonderful. We also all kind of brought our lives into the work. And these are something we had several different performances that were multimedia. So each one of us did our own solo performance, but together. So we scripted it so that there are 8 voices in it, and they come together. We selected a theme, so each one of the performances might have been women's body, or might have been women and science, or something like that. And then we were being audacious about it.
Yeah.
And we toured US, and I think our work was very inspiring for women. It was very interesting how many women came back to us after the performance and said, this really spoke to me, or some aspect of it spoke to me, because there were so many voices that we put out with these performances.
Great, thank you.
Do you want to hear from me?
I do, because I popped in quickly to your exhibition upstairs, and it's quite varied. And
It's always
I'd
very
like
varied,
to hear
isn't
a
it,
bit more
Karen?
about that.
Basically, I studied photography, came here. I have no idea how, but managed to blag a lot about space, and it grew from then on. And it's really, really hard in Edinburgh to be a photographer or an artist, to get into a gallery without paying a lot of money, without, you know, having a reputation. So people coming out of college, university with no experience and have never exhibited before, firstly don't know how to do it, what they're doing, and they can't afford it, and they can't afford the materials for the printing or anything like that. So I let everybody come to me and exhibit from up the stairs, because you never know who's going to see you. And you would think it's a shopping centre, who's going to want art in a shopping centre. But I'm up the stairs across from Britannia. There's thousands of tourists every day come see Britannia. So up there alone, I think it's like 50,000 people. Like, it's a crazy amount of people.
360,000 people visit Britannia
There you
every
go.
year.
So putting an art gallery in something like a shopping centre actually works very well,
Yeah.
rather than sort of being in, I don't know, I mean, the Newtown has a lot of successful galleries, of course, but from what you're saying, artists starting out aren't really going to be able to get into those galleries.
It's basically children, any kind of people can see art that wouldn't normally be seeing art every day,
Yeah.
because you have to go to a gallery to look at art, whereas here it's up on the walls. And I try not to tell anybody you can't exhibit. I am not the messiah of art or photography. I try and give everybody a chance to be seen whenever possible.
Good. All right. Well, that's good adverts for all your work as well, which is also part of this, because we've got to promote women in art. This is about audacious women. So I suppose one of the questions I wanted to ask was this. Women, do we rule the world, or the art world? How difficult is it, do you think? Is it, obviously I touched on some of the women in the past and had great difficulty getting their work recognised. Do you still feel that there's some of that going on? Is there still a market dominated by male collectors, male gallery owners,
Yeah.
male curators? And how does that impact, do you think, on women getting their art in
You
front
only
of
have to look at the art
public?
schools and see that probably about 80% of our of the student population is female in like some of the courses. There's but if you look at the amount of women that are getting solo shows and in the main galleries, it's minute compared to male artists. There's certain things like men sort of do maybe illustration more and animation, but with things like painting, it's definitely female dominated now, even sculpture.
Yeah.
But
But you don't think that's reflected in the work that's getting
I
sold?
think men are a bit more confident about everything they do. And I think we talked about that in the Audacious Women Festival, that there was certain things like the breakdancing, I think you know this, that men turned up and it made the women feel a wee bit more uncomfortable about relaxing in the environment, because the men became so competitive when women are generally can be much more supportive of each other.
Would you say, I was just going to ask you, Mirja.
Absolutely. The perception is also such that when we think about the painter, we think about the male painter, and we don't like. It's very slow for us to catch up. That the reality is actually changing. It's different, and I also thought that it's interesting that the awareness of, for example, how much women work in arts is also something that's fairly new. Like the fact that the publicly funded arts institutions, for example, are mostly run by women. So you have curators and the people who can actually make it happen. Quite often are women working behind the scenes and making decisions as well. But then when we have a public face, it's not the women, it's often the men. So I think it takes a little bit of catching up with that actually sort of we are quite powerfully making the art happen out there.
But you think this is happening slowly, too slowly, but it is
Too
starting?
slowly, yes.
Can you point to anywhere, apart from your own selves, of course, as examples, to any sort of galleries or museums that you think are sort of leading the way here in trying to present a more diverse collection of artists? I mean, I'm thinking of the Guerrilla Girls. You'll have heard of them. So for those who hadn't heard of them, they were an anonymous group of female artists which were founded. It was formed on the back of an exhibition at the New York Museum of Modern Art, And because they noticed that that exhibition included only 13 women artists out of 169. So they created a poster which asked, do women have to be naked to get into the New York Museum of Modern Art Gallery? Because they also did some research that showed that less than 3% of artists in the modern art section were women, but 83% of the nudes were female. And they're actually doing an exhibition at the moment at the Whitechapel Gallery down in London, and their latest exhibition actually asks, is it even worse in Europe? Which suggests, given that they came up with they were created in the sort of mid-80s, the research that they've done amongst European galleries seems to be suggesting that things haven't greatly improved, which was a little bit depressing. So it's good to see 4 women with gumption in front of me. What do you think? Do you think men get it easier when they're trying to get their work selected by galleries? Is there a sort of male bias?
I just think they've just got a way about them. They push themselves. I mean, women are less confident in their work. Obviously some are, but don't think we shout about it as much.
Is there work being done on that?
Probably not, but I think in the openings when it comes to talking to people, the men will be the people who go out there and speak to people, whereas the women will sit back and just let the work speak for themselves. And I think it's just one of the things that we just don't seem to be as confident in certain areas, I think.
Right. Mirja?
I don't know. I mean, I think Guerrilla Girls, for example, they forced people to take note of the situation, right? They forced the galleries to be afraid, to not pay attention, because it would be shown, their practices would be shown. So I think it's true, some slight coercion, I guess, that this change is happening. But we also, like you said, we also ourselves need to understand that we have a role in this and push ourselves more.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't come naturally, we just have to force it. It's
do you think
it's the only
there's
way
more
to
of
change
a
things.
feeling of support amongst female artists and men in doing exactly that? I mean, you gave a great example of women travelling around supporting each other, you know, having families as well. I mean, that is an obvious thing that perhaps...
My son was born during this time, and it was quite amazing. Not every person, not every woman in the group had family, but we learned from each other's sort of experience by being part of this group. And my son is also actually in some of these booklets because he participated in our performances as well, because he was part of my life.
Yeah. I mean, can you each tell me a bit about maybe women artists that have inspired you in the past? Or, I mean, you could expand on that into what got you into art in the first place. What sort of started you off on that particular journey? Well, maybe you were 3, I don't know. I mean...
I honestly don't know where it came from with me. I mean, I'm the only one in my family that's had an interest in art. I actually left school when I was 15, when you could do that, and just went to work. I had a family, and then I decided I wanted a degree because I wanted to do art therapy. What's happened? But I've got a child. You've got 2, well, one's a man.
A big one and a little one.
Got to work around family as well, which I think a lot of men don't. Obviously not all of them, but the majority of the women will be the one to do with childcare, and it's hard to work when you've got a child running about.
It's like we have an artist that's showing in our exhibition, and she's a mum and she's not done work for 30 years, and now she's had a child. It's made her want to make work, and she had an interview, and in her interview said that in between like cleaning up or washing up or looking after the kids, she'll sit down for an hour a day and make work, and then some days she'll sit 3 hours a day, and so now she's got this time to spend to herself and actually make work. So I think sometimes it is just finding the time to do it in between chaos life.
So?
I think it's a difficult balance to have a family and to want to do something creative because it's not known for bringing in a lot of money. So if you're on your own with children, just for say, that's a big challenge to be able to do what you want to do, make money from it, and look after children and find childcare. But you just, if it's something you really want to do, you'll make it work. You just have to make it work, and you have to have the passion there. And I think you're just born with it. I think I've always liked art, probably like you guys as well. I've always wanted to go and see it. I've been intrigued by it, and I want to know about it. So you just have to push yourself, like we all have.
Yeah. So women artists that perhaps have inspired you in the past? Anyone you can point to in particular? Or perhaps a figure at art school who...
Mainly male tutors again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's male tutors. Very male dominated. Even writing about them, I think Diane Arbus was somebody I liked. She's a female photographer, and she did a concept about back in the day called Freaks, and it was she went to mental institutions and took images of people that were put in these places, and it was she actually raised awareness of all of these things. So that one woman did that. So that's quite something to be able to do that at that time.
Is that kind of sort of, I suppose that communal aspect to it, raising awareness, is that sort of part of your work as well? Is that something you want to...
I think every photographer, I don't know as much about artists, but a lot of photographers like to have something that they're
saying something about society.
Yeah, it's a message from yourself. It can be a personal message, it could be even a documentary. Anything that you do, you take that specific image for a reason, and it has something meaning to you, and you just hope that the other person can get that meaning from what you've taken.
Yeah. I mean, do any of you, I mean, obviously Mirja, you have, I suppose in a way, but are you conscious of trying to support women artists and really trying to push their work? I'm not going to tell you off if you're not, but I just wondered, you know, I just thought...
No, probably not. I think it's just, you like what you like sometimes, if it's a man, male or female.
Sure.
For me anyway.
Yeah.
Most of my inspiration is probably from men as well, so I can't really...
Really? Why'd you say that?
I don't know, it's just, I guess it's the work, and I'm more driven by architecture, and I guess the more architects are men, so it's just the way it is. But then I've had a lot of support from men, like the guy that discovered me, I had a show in London, and he was really supportive of my work and gave me really good feedback. So I think people are out there to support it, even though you are a woman, even though they are men, but I guess it's just a few that they're out there.
Yeah, well, I'm just interested in the idea of women supporting themselves. I mean, you know, I'm in politics, and certainly the group of women MPs that I'm involved with down in Westminster, I suppose we do tend to offer each other a little more support, because when you're up in the House of Commons facing all these braying Tories who have been going to debating society since they were 3, it's, you know, it's something that you do need a little bit of support on, and so
I think that shows here though, because although we've only, well, apart from me and Olivia, we've only met through being at Ocean Terminal, whether obviously Dave, he's part of it, but it's women that are running the art stuff that's going on in Ocean Terminal, and we've sort of all supportive, like you came down and did a performance in our show, and Sara does photos for us and comes down and drinks the wine and stuff. No, but so I don't know if we were, if it was all, there's an expression that I like that's, I'm not going to be really vulgar, but my favourite expression is dick swinging, and I think that you get a lot of that with men competitive. There is a lot of dick swinging going on, and that's true enough. It says it all.
Would you like to ask a question?
Just again, what you've mentioned there, and taking note of the exhibition, I think that you ran, which I certainly noticed and looked at, but. Going back to your point that, what the point was, I think it was about the men dominating art or something like that. I stick my hand up, I live on the shore. Ocean Terminal is my local, as it were. Yeah. And yet, it strikes me that, even get me into Ocean Terminal was quite a feat, like, you know. Nevertheless, it strikes me that every time I've never been confronted or, you know, brought up short or attracted to an Ocean Terminal kind of display saying, okay, women artists are displaying in X, go there. You know, kind of go there, or Debenham saying, go there, women, and we will support those artists, and you can come and shop with us as, you know, as super duper Debenhams or whatever. You know, there isn't that in your face draw for even local ordinary folk like myself. It simply isn't there. And so it strikes me, could it not be there? Because here we are, women, mostly women shop at Ocean Terminal. Ocean Terminal therefore could be made to feel responsible for flowing people, as it were, into these sort of exhibitions. Now, the other point is that I've been here for years, The only time I've been up in this corner of Ocean Terminal, ever, was to accompany a friend who was putting her kid into a kid's party across the way. I didn't even notice this. And it's, unfortunately, it's not boom in your face.
Well, we have someone here who sort of helps to represent us in Ocean Terminal, and she'll have heard that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is a bit tucked away, I agree, because there's been some terrific art going on here for years, I know, and Alison's been responsible for helping.
Subliminal, but it needs to be something that attracts, you know, Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Jones and all the rest of us to actually flow in there and not miss it on the shopping trip, and therefore much more central to something like Ocean Terminal will help you or give you this if you do that. You know, something really magnetic.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to get a large percentage of local people who. It's gone past me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is online, to be fair. But I guess more signposting, Alison, maybe note of that.
I will do.
Good, because I think actually, it would be
No,
nice to see something
absolutely.
more on the ground floor for it, perhaps like pointing folk up, letting them know that this is on, because this is a great resource in itself.
Yeah. I think there's sort of posters in the lifts often.
Oh, right.
It's hard for us because obviously we're artists running, we've self-invested in this, and so we can't go out there and we can't signpost every way we can, but we've tried to do much. And I guess what we're hoping now is it's just going to be from word of mouth, and that's the main way we can get things known, because we can't invest
It has been
£1,000.
mentioned for us to have signage, and it just never came to any. They put
All
all the new signage
if I
outside,
may,
didn't they?
sorry, if I may just shut up and say, I mean, leaflets in the lift, big deal. I don't need those either. And so something like a small, piece of leaflet is not it, and yet you're able to put up these big poster displays, and you're able to put up your big glass cases showing off somebody's recent Macintosh and all the rest of it. I mean, I'm talking big, because if you own that, then you should increase your footfall as well. And I'm talking about something that is big enough and central enough and not got roundable enough.
Okay, right, well we can certainly, I think Alison's heard that loud and clear, so
I have.
hopefully she'll be taking that on board for you. Can I just get back to the Guerrilla Girls, this Whitechapel Gallery exhibition. The Whitechapel Gallery down in London actually commissioned this latest exhibition they've done. And as I said, they have sent surveys out to 383 European gallery directors. They had responses from 1 in 4 of them. But one of the quotes from that exhibition is, and this is more, they've kind of opened out, if you like, into diversity more generally. It's not simply about women. But what one of the quotes from the exhibition is, art can't be reduced to the small number of artists who have won a popularity contest among big-time dealers, curators and collectors. Unless museums and Kunsthallen show art as diverse as the cultures they claim to represent, they're not showing the history of art, they're just preserving the history of wealth and power. Yours?
I think a lot of galleries as well, I don't know if you independent galleries aren't even run by artists. And if I paint a painting and I want £800 for my painting, and it's going in a gallery, it's £1,600. Now there's a big difference between somebody being able to pay £800 to £1,600. And this is the problem that as artists we've got, when we're in the mainstream, that they're taking 40-50% in Edinburgh now. And as I say, they're not even run by artists, so they're taking work that they think they can sell, so they make their 50%. So we're not necessarily getting the good art, the contemporary art, we're getting the pictures of a landscape or a beach or something like that, which is fine, there's a market for it.
Yeah,
but it's
this
never
points
going to
again
change.
to the importance of smaller galleries, small scale galleries for people starting
But
out.
we don't take we can sell work in our space. You'll pay to rent the space, but we won't take commission, do we? And we'll maybe, and the other thing, if you want to put even if you want to apply to put work in, say, the SSA or the RSA, you have to pay something like £20 just to apply. Now there's no guarantee, and then if you do get in, you've got to pay another £10 admin. So you need to be like if somebody applies to show hours, if we have an open call, we don't charge anything, but if you're selected, we'll take a tenner, and that covers everything, the wine on the opening, the hanging, you know, and this is what the problem is the amount of money to even apply anywhere.
Really, right, okay.
Yeah,
I'm seeing lots of nods here from the audience. Mirja, is that your
well, I was just sort of thinking that there's another reason why galleries like ours are important is that to develop anything new, that it takes time to understand and see what is it that you're doing. So there's a lot of work that takes risks, and it takes so spaces like us to provide that opportunity for people to put this work out there and see how people respond to that. So if you want to, in order to have an art scene that is lively and is not just repeating what's already been there, the famous artists, the styles that we all know, but something that is going to be the art for tomorrow, you need to have a spaces like ours.
Yeah. Olivia, Sara?
I think for me it's been interesting because now I work for a national gallery, and so I see the other side of the street.
Interesting.
And it's interesting talking to them because I work for the Royal Scottish Academy, and they work for the National Gallery to show exhibits, and for them to make a profit on the show they have to take 50% even though they don't want to, and even a big commercial gallery like that can't even afford to run, so for us small space it's even hard for us to make anything from it. So I think it's a massive competitive world, and if you don't put your effort in to make it work, it's not going to work. And you've got to be determined. So I think for hard as it is for us for an artist to pay these fees, sometimes we have to, because then the other galleries will drop down and they're the ones that give us opportunities to see show work everywhere for other audiences. So I suppose it's Karen grumbles, and before I worked there I grumbled as well, but now I know the backside of it and why you have to do it, and so it's one of those things.
But you don't think the galleries are selective?
Sorry?
Do you don't think the galleries are selective?
Well, yeah, I think they are selective, but I don't know that. I don't know that side of it.
Is that gallery, okay, I've been not sort of drag you into it as somebody who works there, but would you have the view that the galleries generally are more aware of their responsibility to show? Is it a responsibility? Is it the gallery's job to show a diverse reflection of society back to itself? I would say probably public galleries, yes. But is it private galleries, or do they just go with the art and
I think they're selective on who they'll show. They're
It's not saleable.
Yeah. I wouldn't be selective. If somebody emailed me with a picture of a landscape and says, I've just finished college, I want to show some work, could you help me? We'll get a series together, maybe 6 pictures. I'm not going to say, no, don't put that up, no, I wouldn't put that up. It's not my art, it's theirs. But if I was to go to a gallery, they'll be like, no, maybe look at it and just skip the email, or they'll maybe look and go, oh well, maybe that, but not. I think there's a selectiveness about
We're like that.
a galleries. I'm not.
But do you not look at yourself? I mean, you've got a big audience from Britannia. I'm not going to argue that they are a certain type. I'm sure they're, a vast range of people go to see the Britannia. But would you perhaps look at some of your work and go, well, this would probably appeal a bit more to that audience? Or have you noticed that some items sell?
I know now the market that sells from Ocean Terminal, and if I'm honest, the biggest market is from people in Leith. It's not actually the tourist people.
Is it?
Yeah. And it's a specific market. There is a specific market for in here. Your market's completely different from in here. And it's probably not, even the work that I do is probably not the market for in here. But I mean, I think I have to be more censored, as in I can't have political view, I can't have nudity, I can't have certain things because it might be offensive to children or people, whereas you've got more flexibility with that end of it. So we've all got constraints, but I would never say to somebody you can't put that up. I don't like it. It's not for me, it's everybody else. Everybody deserves a chance to be seen as the way I work.
Great.
What genre sells best?
The $1 million question. And here, it's everything you wouldn't imagine. Like, I could put 1 million pictures up of Edinburgh and the castle and it won't sell. I could put a picture up of Edward Scissorhands in a pop art kind of way, or I could put black and white sell, but abstract. It's the things you really wouldn't think would sell.
Living room. It's like the degree shows, everybody's coming round with whatever matches or new sofa.
I guess that's common to all art though, isn't it, really, in terms of...
That's one issue I've got.
decor.
People don't think twice about spending £2,000 on a sofa that they're going to change in a few years, but they won't spend £1,000 on a painting that's going to probably go up in value, and it's going to be there.
Yeah, it'll be there forever. What do you think? I mean, I was just wondering about how important diversity is then to you in terms of what you're showing. Obviously, you're saying, you're not selecting, so you're allowing everyone to put things up as they approach you. When you're selecting your works, is making sure that you are presenting a diversity, not just of gender, but of ethnic background, or is that something that you take into account when you?
It depends who contacts me, really. I don't know about you
For
guys.
us, because we rent the space, we're not really selecting who uses it for them. So like we've got the University of Photography students coming up. We don't know what they're showing, but they're taking space of us. So we're not selecting that way. The only way we select is when we have open calls out, and then we choose what we think would fit well together, and that's the only way we select. But we try to get diverse.
So it's more about the art itself.
Yeah,
It's
it's
all
together.
together,
Yeah, I mean, it would be more. We probably wouldn't have like a bunch of roses or like Edinburgh Castle or the bridge, although it's fair enough, but it's not. It's been done so much.
So you're looking just for something a bit different.
Well, we did an open call for works on paper, and that was good because we had a huge sort of diverse, just different things people can do.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ways of getting interesting work is that you have open call, so anybody can apply, and that's actually getting more and more rare that you have galleries that have open calls. So a lot of the programs, yes, curated programs, are by invitation. So the fact to have an open call when anybody can, you find out about people whom you didn't know about at all, and those are, I think, really important opportunities to provide. And I think, well, for example, our program is curated, so it means that we show whom we want to, but it's going to be a reflection of who we are. So our interests and our, we look at the work and we think about what is it trying to say? Is this interesting? Is this new? Does it speak to us? And that's the most honest way, I think, to try to show an interesting program that has feels that it has integrity, because it feels like it has integrity to us. Yes. So we are not doing the work, we're not showing work that is, it's not like a publicly funded gallery where I think you need to think quite carefully about the representation.
Yeah.
For us, it's our issues, our interests, and there are a lot of different types of galleries out there that show work that is different from ours.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point about public art galleries is right. Although, I mean, the Guerrilla Girls went into the Ludwig Gallery in Cologne, and even though Cologne's one of Germany's most diverse cities, apparently, 89% of the collection is by men, and 97% of it by white artists. So. It's something that I'm sure the Ludwig Gallery is looking closely at now. It's been highlighted so dramatically. I wondered though, because so we'll assume that, I mean, it's pretty obvious, I think, that art has become more diverse in terms of the sort of parts of the population it's representing, thankfully. But do you think that's driven by society's demand, or do you think that that's curators or gallery owners sort of becoming more aware of this issue and the fact that they should be, widening their outlook a little bit? What do you think, chicken or egg, what do you think's helping to drive that, if someone is? And can you think of galleries that are really sort of trying to promote a more diverse field?
I think it's all going on in tandem in a way. Like a lot of there's been a kind of educational turn in galleries. So they feel like they need to, there's a drop in footfall and you think, what am I doing wrong? Then you start thinking about who are the actual people whom you want to involve and get in, and you do a lot of workshops, and through workshops a lot of different sort of types of issues come up, and I think that's one of the ways that the galleries have kind of diversified their program. They actually don't just think there's going to be footfall, but they work with the people and see what the issues are, what are people's interests, and work with
The fruit market's quite good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say they're the only one that got an active sort of education programme and talk, and they're quite diverse, I would say.
Yeah.
Male, female, creation.
Yeah, they seem to highlight that. I suppose we're going to have to wind up fairly shortly. I thought maybe folk could have a couple of questions. I just want to In Huffington Post, we had a list of top 10 artists by value, 2005 to 2015, and out of the top 10, one was a woman, Cindy Sherman. The top was Jeff Koons. And I just wondered, do you think, I mean, you know, women have struggled to make their mark in all sorts of different areas. Do you think it's particularly different for women in the art world? I am focusing on women because this is the Audacious Women Festival, so...
Oh yeah, it's different. I mean, how many female photographers do you see out there for the press? I mean, I've been on those horrible missions, and then you get pushed right out the way. I've heard, like, I've had comments said to me, you know, women in cameras, what you do, you can't take a picture. I've had, like, honestly, that's like, yeah, it can be quite cutthroat when you're out there in the real world trying to take photographs, like, seriously, because men will not let you in. They're there for that shot, and they'll get the shot. You're not going to get it.
Really?
And they're not going to be beaten by a female photographer. So yeah, and for that, that's how it feels to be a female photographer. But you guys are just trying to do art-based, so
Yeah. Hopefully, with a more collaborative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what you think?
Well, Mirja, you're going no.
Yeah, well, you know, I was thinking that for me, pretty quickly became clear that where it's interesting is when you provide your own opportunities and you try to make it. So if you feel like institution is not doing what you want it to do, you make your own institution and you try to grow it with people.
Yeah.
And it ends up being quite sort of smaller in scale, but you have really great time. You learn a lot, and you can affect change, real change, in that way.
Yeah.
So I've been very interested in this, how people make their own opportunities, get together, and sort of change from, you would say maybe grassroots on, but it's not quite grassroots. It's people who have been doing things for a long time, professional, but feel like it's just not quite supporting them in the right way.
Yeah.
So you just say, no, this is what I need, and I'm going to do it with people. So.
Sounds good. Well, that's a really positive note to pretty much end on. But I'm just wondering if anyone has questions from the audience, having listened to these fabulous women. Yes.
I'm just going to say, it's all the creative industries, it's really, really difficult to make money as an artist, as a photographer or a painter or sculptor. You will struggle to make a living out of it. There's a very, very tiny percentage. And if out of that tiny percentage, the larger percentage is male, then there's a big, big struggle for women to succeed. And as you pointed out at the beginning of the talk, Deidre, how historically women have been shoved to the side in art and science and all sorts of ways.
Yep.
This is something that if women want to get to this really top edge, you have to, have money, or have people who know people who have money, or support each other in some sort of other collaborative way to promote the work. I don't think there's any difference in the work that women produce as men produce. It's just as good. As good. Men are just as good as women sometimes. It just depends what it is. But I think that money thing is something that we shouldn't avoid talking about.
That's what we're saying, like, Olivia, we've got other jobs.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
we're non-profit, artist-led, funding is another issue. You could be here all day talking about funding,
Exactly.
but we won't go into that just now. So that's how you sometimes have to make your money, is just through funding applications, and that gets knocked back.
We've had to graft to get where we
Well,
are. It's been hard work, hasn't
Yeah.
it? But I think it's
Yeah.
all been worth it, and you've just got to pursue it and carry on. If you stop, then a lot of people that went to university where they just stopped. They're not
They're
doing
out or
anything.
travelling the
Work
world.
9 to 5 jobs. They've not done anything where you're gonna. If you're not passionate about it, then you're not gonna get anywhere. So I think it's just drive, passion. You've got to keep going.
Excellent. Well, unless one more question. That was really good. Yes, that's.
Oh, no, you. Rosario? Me?
No.
Okay. It was just two quick comments really. One is, I don't know if you know anything about the Take One Action Film Festival. Unison Trade Union sponsors them, and they're trying to engender social change by doing documentaries about people that are working in communities. And next month, in celebration of International Women's Day, they're featuring a women documentary filmmakers, and the feature's called Camera Person. So it might be something that I'm really interested in. And the other is something Deidre knows that I'm really very interested in, is this idea of what's called either a basic citizen's wage or universal wage. And one of the fantastic things about that, I think, is the idea that human beings, women, even men, will be freed up to do the kinds of things that they're really passionate about. So that's something I hope that we're all going to be looking at more in the future, so that you're not spending time when you could be creating art doing funding applications. So anyway, those are just those comments.
Right. Okay, I think we've got time for one more if anyone's got anything to say. Otherwise, I think we'll close it there and say thank you to our fabulous panel, that was a really, really interesting encounter around all sorts of issues to do with women in art. I really appreciate that. I'll thank Audacious Women's Festival for hosting this, Alison for helping to organise it, doing a great job as always, and to the small but perfect audience that we have here today. Thank you very much.
One thing though, I really, listening to you talking about the lack of equality in the art world is the middle of the 21st century. I mean, we could be talking about 600 years ago, really, and it just shows how important the work that you're doing is, and why I think there's a need for something like the Audacious Women Festival as well, to try and promote the work of women and to celebrate the work that Audacious Women are doing. So thank you all very much for your many contributions this week.
Thank you. Great.